Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Change TV from Change Americas. My name is Ciro Pérez, and I am working in Change Americas. And of course, I am working in Change TV as well. So today we have a very special guest because not just because we are working together in American markets, we are working to develop different services. For that reason, I decided to introduce Michael Krumpak to a new episode from Change Americas because Michael has a lot of experience with different topics. Leadership is one of it, and I want to talk about leadership trends and what is the best way to develop a leadership process in the companies. As you know, I have a lot of experience working in Latin American companies, but Michael has a lot of experience working with a lot of companies. So the idea is to intertwine our experience to maybe to create a baseline to talk or to work in leadership process. So I want to introduce Michael today. So hello, Michael. How do you do?
Hola, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation to talk with you again.
Yes, a lot of clients from Latin America ask me if it's possible to talk with you about leadership. So today I want to talk a lot of things, but of course the idea is to start with our main topic, leadership. So how long have you worked with leadership, Michael?
That's a good question. So I've been in learning and development for like 33 years or so, let's say over 30. And a big part of that has been focusing on leadership development as well. But I would say probably like maybe 20 of the 30 years really focusing on leadership development. So I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot. And my philosophy on leadership is I think everybody is a leader. Everyone can be an individual leader, and we can kind of talk about that if you'd like. And then there's the leaders of companies, leaders of teams, leaders of organizations. So if you look at the broader definition of leadership, yeah, I've spent a little bit of time in the arena.
As we talked in our last webcast or podcast, I don't know how can I say that, but we have talked about coaching process. So today I want to focalize my energy or our energy talking about leadership. But the best way to start is at the beginning. So what do you think is the difference between leadership and management? Because all of people maybe interconnect the ideas, but what is the main difference between leadership and management?
Yeah, I think like a lot of what I'm hearing today is that the world is really lacking leaders. And I think before you even start to answer that or look at leadership, you have to examine the differences and the similarities between leadership and management. For me, management is more, and every job, everyone has to be a leader and has to be a manager. We all manage our project list, we manage priorities, we manage budgets, we manage personnel, hours, headcount, all that type of all those types of things. But with leadership, it's very different. With leadership, it's about inspiring, it's about motivating, it's about taking things to the next level and really stretching people to not only fulfill their potential, but actually surpass that. I think good leaders can actually help their followers and their employees become smarter and more effective. So, with the leadership, it's about coaching, it's about inspiring, it's about motivating, it's about aligning the work that we do to the vision, the mission, the values, the operating principles that an organization has. And for leadership, like, I don't think you can be a leader unless you're managing things well. But when times are tough, the leadership skills that emerge in the best and the greatest leaders are really the things that really set apart the average person or the average manager or leader from the as I like to say, the legendary leader or the rock star leader. So leaders are very proactive, very strategic. It's a tough job because you can't act the same way in various situations. You have to look at the people, their communication styles, their preferences, their what excites them. And a leader is really in touch with not only what's going on today, but what is also going on in the future. Where managers, it's like, okay, I have a budget, I have a timeline, I need to put together a spreadsheet. You complete those tasks and you move on. Where a leader, I think, is more transformational, and you're always kind of helping people make that journey with you.
I definitely totally agree with you, because I am working with a lot of C-suite and CEOs, and of course, along the way, we are talking about it. And the difference between management and leadership is, of course, a main topic that we talk about. But for you, uh, we want to start to talk about CEO leadership role, okay? And then drill down. But I want to start with a CEO. What do you think is the best way to define CEO leadership role, or what do you think about CEO leader? What do you think about it?
Mhm. Yeah, that's really good. I think the best CEOs are really, they're not focused so much on today. They've built a team, they've built a leadership structure, they've built their organization. And I'm talking about like the best of the best CEOs. They have the structure to deal with the problems, the challenges of today. They're focused more on 6 months, 12 months, a year or so in the future. So with the CEO, it's really like, how do you get away from being so caught up in the weeds of the daily operations and being more forward focused? And I learned a new term this week on another podcast that I wanted to share. And with coaching, I really encourage my clients to do a lot of reflection. And the new term that I learned, and maybe you've heard it, it's called proflection. So it's looking at, it's not reflecting in the back, but it's being proactive and proflecting to the future. So it's like, it's taking time, taking, a mindful pause and thinking about what are the things that we need. A lot of the challenges that CEOs are dealing with is, AI is the hot topic. And I have to say, and I'll tell you a little about this study that I did a couple years ago about the biggest leadership challenges. But even a couple years ago, we were looking at what artificial intelligence is, and I think we're all trying to wrap our hands around that. But to go back to the capabilities of a CEO, they're really focused on what do we need to be doing in the future? How do we need to start hiring now and preparing for what that future is going to look like? Do we need to build our capability as an organization? Do we need to buy people that have capability? Do we need to hire people that have that capability? So it's more future focused. So it's big picture. But at the same time, I think the best CEOs, while they're leaning towards the future and they're really focusing on what's going to be needed tomorrow, they're actually visible and accessible and they're approachable and they know what's going on today. But I think the best of the best CEOs, they have their house in order very well, so that the day-to-day operations, the day-to-day marketing, planning, whatever it would be, the day-to-day can be maintained, and they're focused more on, all right, what are our competitors doing? What are our competitors going to be doing in the future? How do we need to, stay abroad on that? So I think with CEOs, and a lot of it is undoing some things that have worked in the past. And every time we get a promotion from an individual contributor to a manager, to a director, to a VP, to a C-suite, to a CEO, like every time you get a promotion, it's a critical transition. And you have to let go of things that made you successful, and you have to pick up new things that make you more successful. And I think with the senior executives, a lot of it is like, why are you still doing the work that is the work of a VP or the work of a director? So it's getting them to like say no to things so that they can say yes to the right things to be strategic. So I think that's what's really important for CEOs to do, and just a little bit of a snapshot of what a picture of a CEO would look like today as a strong, legendary leader.
Okay. And what do you think is the main difference between CEO leadership approach and C-suite leadership approach?
I the main difference, I think the main difference is the CEO is in touch with the current C-suite and they know what's going on, but also they're focused more on, and they may not even be transparent or open, but they're looking at other things, they're testing things, they're trying things out to find out what they can do to kind of bring back to their C-suite team so that they can talk and collaborate and put together a strategy. So again, I think it's focusing so much more on the future and getting their head out of the weeds.
And what is the difference between C-suite and middle management leadership?
Yeah. So there's a great model, and it's actually a book. It's called The Leadership Pipeline. And it's basically a model of zigzags. And it looks at every critical passage that we have as leaders. You have to let go of things, like I said, and pick up new things. For example, if someone's an individual contributor, they're doing a great job. Managers are looking at them saying, wow, they're doing great work, so I'm going to promote them. And that's one of the top challenges this year, is some of these companies are growing so quickly, especially in like tech and startups and things like that. They're growing so quickly that they're just like, okay, you're doing a great job as an individual contributor, so go manage this team of 5 people. And we just throw them into these new leadership roles, assuming because they've been the rock star at doing the individual work, they're going to be successful as a leader. And a lot of the times they derail, or they're like, I don't like this, I'm going to leave. And it's because the things that got you successful are not going to carry you in the future. So with people that are the first line managers, which I think is a really needy group today, a lot, like I've had so many new clients that are more first time people managers, or even like a first time director, and they haven't been prepared for it. But it's letting go of things like, I want to get all the work done. And now as a manager, it's like, whoa, stop. You want to make sure that you're developing other people to do it. So while you as the manager might be able to put together this great spreadsheet in 5 minutes, you don't have time. That 5 minutes can be used for something else. So it may take 3 or 4 hours to get someone else on your team up to speed so that they can actually do the spreadsheet in 5 minutes. So it's letting go of like, you're so good at doing the work, and now you have to delegate. Now you have to manage. Now you have to coach. Now you have to like look at your employees as whole people. I think coming out of the pandemic, a big challenge of leaders is it's not just about the worker and the work, it's the whole person. And now that work and personal lives are more integrated and people are having a harder time with boundaries and barriers, it's really important that managers are, some people like to say like counselors or therapists, and I don't know if I agree with that, but basically that's, it's more about the work, and it's coaching and developing and inspiring and motivating the individuals in their totality. So I think that's the big challenge from an individual contributor to a manager. And then from a manager to a director, a big thing is opening your networking skills. So now it's like you're not managing individuals, you're managing managers who manage other individuals. So now you're looking across the organization, and it's super important to get out of your office, go meet other people, network with others. So I think one of the very important things for new directors to do is look at some goals that you have, look at the relationships that you have. Who are the relationships that you need to increase? Are there any damaged relationships where you might need to fix them? Are there relationships where you don't have a relationship, but you know you need to make friends with the person in HR or the person in finance or the person that can sort of like, be your advocate or sounding board. So at that director level, it's about networking and a lot of relationship building outside your immediate department, outside your immediate team, and even outside your organization. So staying connected to the professional community, working with other people that are in a similar role as the director at company ABC to make sure, like, hey, what are you guys seeing at your company as a challenge? So it's all about networking and relationships at the director level. And then at the VP, it's about being more dynamic and flexible and knowing that you need to pivot on a dime and you have to deal with a lot of ambiguity, and you have to know when it's appropriate to filter communication down to your directors and where do you hold that information kind of quietly and thinking more strategically. So I can go on and on about the model, but it's so good and it has stood the test of time for many, many years. And the thought is just whenever you're going through a transition, here's the punchline. You have to stop doing some things. You have to learn to say no to do the things that you probably enjoy doing and have been very successful. And you have to pick up some new skills and new responsibilities so that you can continue to grow and be successful. And I think that whoever you are as a leader, just being able to like reset and pause and try some new things is super important. And the other thing is as you move into these new roles, I think it's really important that you do a 360-degree feedback, or I do a program called a new leader integration. So after, let's say, a director gets promoted to a vice president, about 90 days, you get everybody together in the room, you take the VP out of the room, and you have a neutral third-party facilitator say, all right, guys, here's the ground rules. It's all confidential. We're not going to say who said what, but Tom has been your VP for 90 days. What do you guys enjoy? What works? How does he help the work get done? What are the things that he can do even better in terms of coaching or feedback or being organized or whatever? And then you take the team out and bring the VP in, and you go through, this is what your team has said, not pointing fingers. And then the VP can say, all right, well, let me think of like why I did this. And it's a really good process that, again, no matter what level you go to when you get promoted, to get feedback, because we as individuals and we are leaders, everyone thinks they're way better than they are. I know for a fact that I probably think that I'm better than a lot of people say, and probably the same with you, Ciro. But it's important to get that feedback and do something about it whenever you have these critical transitions. So just some thought, but the leadership pipeline model is something that has stood the test of time, and it's a great read if any of our reading audience is interested.
Thank you for your advisor. But if I remember, you wrote a book about it, or what?
Yeah. I'm actually finalizing the book right now. So there's pieces and parts of it out there, but collectively it's not published yet. But yeah, the book is titled Why Smart Leaders Do Stupid Things, Lessons Learned from Lousy Leaders. And the whole reason of this book, and I actually have a webinar on my website, and I'm doing some webinars if anyone's interested in learning more. But there's so much leadership development training that tells people this is what you should do. But there's not a lot of advice, and there's not a lot of tools that can say, let's look at some case studies of people that have been ineffective or have derailed or failed as a leader. What happened? How can we learn from that and check in with ourselves to make sure that over time and as we move throughout our career as leaders, we don't start to get overconfident or arrogant or very detached and start to become very delusional and not grounded. And so it's a collection of very, very funny examples. And I don't call out names, I don't call out companies. We've sort of changed the circumstances to protect the innocent, but it's so interesting what we can do when we pause and look at what other leaders have failed to do successfully. And every time I walk up to someone and I say, oh yeah, I'm finalizing my book on lessons that we learned from lousy leaders. Oh, I got to tell you about this boss that I had that wouldn't give me flexibility and wouldn't let me work from home, or, played favorites or whatever it would be. Everybody has examples of that. And I think the point here is that we can become stronger, more effective, high performing, more engaging leaders by sometimes looking at the dark side of leadership that I like to call, and what are the things that we can do to make sure that we don't fall down that slippery slope and kind of go off the chart, and now we're not aware of our brand, aware of our reputation. So it's really a way of checking in with ourselves as leaders to make sure that we're continuing to be as solid and ethical and engaging and motivated and as positive as we can as leaders.
I think I really, really enjoy talking to you because I learn a lot. But leadership is the kind of topic that you talk on a daily basis, maybe for the last, 150 years. Stephen Covey, wrote a special book about these topics, and he summarized maybe 100 history of leadership. But in 2023, if we need to understand actually what is the best way to define leadership trends, maybe 1, 2, or 3 leadership trends, what do we need to focalize as a leaders in this moment of the history?
Yeah. So I think the hot needs and the hot trends as leaders right now are focusing on developing other leaders and other individuals. So many organizations, when there's a tough economy or, the threat of a recession or whatever, they immediately go to let's do reductions, let's do layoffs. And there's a lot of new research that says that may look good to Wall Street and investors, and maybe your stock's going to go up a little bit. But overall, it's one of the worst things that you can do because it destroys the culture. It creates a lot of fear. It can create an environment that can become very toxic. So the whole point is, if you are a strong leader and you have developed strong systems and processes in your organization, you should have a mechanism to hire the best people by doing competency-based behavioral interviews and doing reference checks. And someone said, hire slowly and fire fast. Well, I agree with, let's take time, do our due diligence and hire the right people. I don't necessarily agree with firing fast, because if you did it the right way, you would find people that have the potential. So I think the biggest trend is not focusing on what's going to help your bottom line today, but strategically, again, what the CEO level should be doing, leaning towards the future. What can we be doing to make sure that we're developing and finding out what people like? What are their interests? Do they like to contribute? What do they want to do? Like asking questions and just really engaging the individuals in your organization. So I think developing, and actually, part of developing is coaching. So there's the formal process of coaching, which, with me and my credential as a professional certified coach, a PCC, like that's a little bit different. But in the purest sense of coaching, giving people feedback on, hey, not only are, wow, that's great, you're doing a good job, but being very specific. When you come into work and you're ready to go on that meeting, that's great. But it also helps the other departments get the information that they need. It helps other people be prepared. So not only explaining what people are doing that's well and what they're doing that's effective, but why. Why is it so important? And I think a lot of people forget to say the why piece. So it's providing feedback, it's giving coaching, it's developing employees. And I think another trend, and I don't know what it is, but I've had like three or four clients this week, and it's called polarity management. And I think the trend is, as a leader, you can never say, okay, today I'm going to focus on safety, and tomorrow I'm going to focus on quality. And it's like, that's an example of two polarities. Do I want to have like do I want zero defects, or do I want zero safety accidents if you're in like a manufacturing facility? And the thought is, as a leader, you have to move between these polarities and like make a decision. And you never can really be to 100% one or the other, but it's knowing when to do that. And so I'll share a dilemma that one of my clients had, and I'm not going to mention anything about it, but and this may resonate with some other people. So someone found out that an employee on their team was looking for another job. So he came to the coaching and he's like, should I tell my manager? Because they're in the process, unfortunately, of doing some, structural changes. And, I don't know what that's going to look like. And I'm not going to tell you the answer or anything, but as a coach, I don't tell people what to do. I help them discover what the right answer is. And here there were themes of, honoring your word. You told that employee, okay, trust me, I'm not going to say anything. But also, your obligation as an employee is to do what's right for the company. So I should provide that information to my manager, because the manager is going to be able to make a decision. But then, is the manager going to be disappointed that I didn't keep my word? So the whole point of this polarity is like, there's never a black and white answer. There's a lot of different degrees. And I see that really playing out on the best of the best leaders. So the novice leaders, the lousy leaders, they sort of like, oh, when this happens, this is what I do. The legendary leaders, the best of the best, the ones that you've selected because they've had the right competencies, they've demonstrated proficiency, they've had great performance evaluations, they're highly rated on the 9 box. Those are the leaders that can flex and pivot and deal with ambiguity to make the best decisions at that moment in the organization. So it's all about thinking and like using your network. Again, everybody needs to build a network. I need to build, a bigger network, but having people that can be a sounding board where you can say, hey, I have a situation, I'm not quite sure what I should do. What do I do? And getting feedback. But then as a leader, knowing when, okay, I need to stop asking questions, I need to stop getting feedback, and I need to make a decision, and I need to trust myself. So it's a science, it's an art, It's polarity management, and I think it's a very important skill and art that leaders really need now more than ever.
Uh, you are talking a lot about feedback. And of course, I know we are working together to develop a new platform. So, what do you decide to develop your own platform to help your clients, to help to develop a leadership process in the companies?
Yeah, so I'll tell you kind of the backstory. So I have been building competency models since 99. So a long time. And I love doing it. I've had the opportunity to build competency models for a major airline, for a big part of our government defense, for startups, for large companies. And I love doing it. And basically, it's taking everything and every idea that a lot of people have and trying to determine what are the behaviors that are absolutely essential that someone needs to have on day one to be successful, or they're going to derail. So that's one piece of the competency model. And to build it, like I like a lot of flip charts, I like a lot of post-it notes, I like to bring the team together, then pull the team back to a couple people, spend it can take a very long time, and it's a very rigorous process. But if you do it right, and if you actually look at the job incumbents or the people that are doing the actual work and get their feedback as well, you can develop a very solid, robust competency model. And you can use those competencies, as I said before, to develop selection systems to hire, to develop simulations. So you give your candidates an inbox basket test or a simulation where you're actually asking them to demonstrate, how well can you take a ton of data and boil it down into 3 slides and give a very crisp presentation. Like those are clear behaviors that align to those competencies. So, but the power of, I think what's happening now is I have these competencies that I've used for many, many years, and they kind of they've been improved and tweaked over time. But I'm really excited about the partnership with Change Americas to actually take the competencies and put them into an HR system. We're calling it L4 Tools, where if and my suggestion is that any leader who has been in a job for 6 months, not 5, but at least 6 months, should do a 360. And the 360 includes a self-evaluation. It would include your evaluation as a manager. It would include direct reports if that's possible, other key stakeholders like other managers or customers. And then it's making sure that you have a robust list of raters. And I always say, like, work with your manager to pick who your raters are. Don't just find all the people that love you and love working with you, because probably the feedback is going to be very inflated. But find people that you don't like, you don't work well, you have conflict, and make sure you have a really good, robust group of raters that can provide you with really good qualitative and quantitative feedback. And then from that, you can look at, okay, what are my hidden strengths where I didn't even know I was so good at planning and organizing, for example? Or why is it that I said I was really good at influencing, but no one else said that? So I have a blind spot. And it really can evoke a lot of awareness and have a lot of great development conversations after you get that like final report, and then socialize it, get some more feedback. So I'm really excited to be using this new tool with you based on those competencies, so that people can really get some great feedback and then actually do something with it. And the 360 system is great, but it's just a report. And sometimes the fun and the challenge is, how do you develop yourself and hold yourself accountable once you get that information? So as a career coach and a leadership coach, I do use a lot of 360s, and it's a lot of putting together a plan, putting together milestones, putting together dates and goals, and what is success going to look like in 6 months and 12 months. It's doing all of the HR planning and the individual development planning to actually make transformation and change, and then layer on top of that leadership development programs with personalized coaching. Like, that's so powerful
Yeah,
today.
yeah,
And, I think a lot of, and this is my last point, a lot of leaders are just frustrated because they're not getting what they need. And some of these like solutions are, they're not very expensive. They're not very expensive. And actually the ROI is extremely high based on like what it's going to do for retention, for leadership development, for everything. So I think, the L4 Tools is just a great system for the competencies and also performance management and some other things down the line as well.
I think we have a lot of blind spots. For that reason, as a coach, I think we need to hire a coach, because we need to talk with somewhere or with other people who maybe challenge you to be more effectively or more leader. I don't know, but I think we need to hire a coach for that reason. Time is over, but I have my last question today. As you know,
Okay.
Change TV is my mentoring session. So I use this material to study by myself, of course. A lot of clients
Hmm.
use this to study as well. But I want to ask you something. If I need to change, if I want to change, if I should to change a couple of habits from Monday up to Friday, in order to
Hmm.
be um, more effectively in my leadership, in my career. Give me 2 or 3 habits that you think, Ciro, if you start to work in these habits, you are going to be more leader, you are more effectively, I don't know. So 2 or 3 habits, please, Michael.
Hmm. So I think a big thing that is another hot topic is mindfulness. And I know with me, like, I work from my home office. It can be 4 or 5 hours. I'm like, I haven't gotten up. I haven't used the restroom. I haven't taken a walk. I haven't had water. We get in this like zone of we just want to go full force ahead. And that can be so unhealthy. So I think checking in with ourselves and being aware of how are we feeling? Are we tired? Are we hungry? Did we get enough rest? Um, are we actually being productive, or have we been trying to write the same paragraph for 20 minutes or so? So I think just pausing, and I encourage people just to set a alarm or a ding at the top of the hour on your watch or a clock, just to say, oh my gosh, that hour went by really fast. How am I doing? You know what? I should probably go out, get some fresh air, go for a 10-minute walk, something like that. So catching yourself before it becomes a problem by being mindful and, just, and when you check in with yourself, actually doing something about that. So I think that's a really good practice. Another thing is letting other people know what you're trying to work on. So if you're trying to be more effective, or if you're trying to, I'll give you an example. I met with a business owner that she typically works 12 to 15 hours a day. So we're now kind of thinking through like, all right, what is your goal? It's like, okay, if the average is 15 hours, why don't we try 14 hours, and can you track it? So the point here is like, if you set a goal, communicate it to other people. It can be your spouse, your significant other, your boss, your coworker. Let other people know that, hey, I'm trying to be, more mindful, and I want to be more productive in less time, like pay attention to that and give me feedback. So letting people know what you're working on. And I think the other idea is, here's the thing that, like, I'm just going to throw it out there. Like, AI is such a topic today. Like, there's times where I go through and I write an email and I'm like, gosh, this doesn't seem, the words aren't coming out. Using resources, and part of coaching, I'll always ask clients, like, what are the resources that you need? Who are the people that can support you? And AI is a resource. So you can just, please correct the grammar of these 6 sentences, and they'll give you a couple suggestions. And, you know, you don't have to cut and paste, but it can be like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. So use resources that are available that can continue to support and help you make your job easier.
So I want to read your book. Definitely, yes. I want to use your platform, but I want to talk to you again. So see you in the next episode. And of course, Michael, thank you very much, because all of our clients in Latin America and American markets ask me for this kind of conversations, because you are very, very kindness to share your experience, to share your information, to share your tools. I really, really, I really feel good because I learn a lot. But I have my bonus track question to you.
Oh
Um,
gosh, I failed the last time you asked that.
as a coach, as a coach, what do you think is the best way to be uh, more effective in your life, not just in a professional way, but in a personal way? Because leadership is not just about work better and, of course, produce results. It's about lifestyle. What do you think is the best way to improve as a leader in your lifestyle, in your daily basis life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And there has been a lot of research, and this comes from neuro leadership. And there's actually there's a lot of documentaries and things like that out there. But
David
in
Rock.
order, yeah. David Rock. Did we talk about this? The healthy mind platter. So it's like making sure that you're getting enough sleep. It's making sure that you're being active. And if you're not the type of person that likes to be active, find people to go. I don't like going to the gym by myself. So I've worked with a personal trainer, and I'm now doing like group training. It's the only way I go. And it's like, I'm just going to accept that and not fight it. And I just started a new program, and I'm having some really good results. So having the physical time and doing what you enjoy, or putting the structure in place so that you can get there. Focus time, which is the reflection, the proflection, the thinking through, like, how did today go? What am I grateful for? What could I do even better? Having social time with friends. COVID's over, or at least for the most part. Get out, network, meet new people, and then take some vacations, take some downtime, like, you know, offer summer Fridays to your workforce if you have the ability to do that. So it's like, and none of this deals with, think about what you're going to do and be strategic and have competencies and be a leader. These are all foundational things that if you don't take care of yourself and show yourself some self-love, there's no way that you're going to have lasting and powerful and sustainable results no matter what you're doing. And I think as a culture and as a society, like, it's okay to talk about therapy. It's okay to talk about yoga and breathing and reflection and sleep and all this kind of stuff. So pause and check in with yourself and show yourself some self-love. I think that's super important.
Thank you for your recommendations. And please, could we check your platform and reports maybe in our next chapter? Because I want
Yeah,
to
I'd love to.
ask you and of course drill down in your reports and try to use this kind of information to help our clients and of course your clients. So please try to record a new episode in a couple of days. Okay.
I'd love to. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Ciro.
Thank you, Michael. See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.